Welcome to the place where paths collide. Crossroad Conversations, let's take the ride. From shadows deep to the light we see. Stories of strength, the voices speak.
What's up, Worcester? This is Jacqueline from Women Strong Recovery and Wellness Coaching, and we are back with Season 2, Episode 2, and I'm so excited that we get to bring all these conversations to you, these crossroad conversations that are steeped in just rich experience. And I think that today what you're going to see is triumph, resilience, and just really overcoming so much that, maybe the regular person might not be able to like overcome with grace, honor, and dignity. And so I'm going to introduce our next guest, and this is Danielle.
Hello.
Hi, Danielle. I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
Just introduce yourself and what it is that you do currently.
So, my name's Danielle Alyncholyn. Currently, I work for the Department of Corrections. I'm a correctional program officer. I'm currently the owner-operator of Doreen's Place, which is a women's sober living in Worcester. I'm also the founder of Warriors of Opportunity, Woo Inc., which is a nonprofit organization geared to provide sober living scholarships to individuals seeking stable housing in the city and surrounding towns. We provide them with a scholarship so that they're able to pay for their intake fees and usually their first month's rent when they move into their sober house. And yeah, that's.
I love that. So that's a lot. You have many hats, right? Your mother, you're a college graduate of master's degree.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I think giving your flowers here because, as we get into your story and all the work that you have done to get this far, I think it's really important to highlight those accolades and the work that you've done. So take us through if you have a nonprofit that provides sober living and a sober house that provides safe, sober living for women.
Mhm.
What does that mean for you and your journey? How did that come about? And what is the meaning behind Doreen's Place and Woo Inc.?
Okay. Well, so Doreen's Place, I named it after my mom, who had 38 years of sobriety. She passed in 2020 with 38 years of sobriety. And I just wanted women in the city to have a safe place to go. I made the house a small house. There's only enough room for 10 women. So that way it's not too much, it's not overcrowded. And they have a safe place to go where they can feel safe and like they're in their own place. And yeah, and I wanted to provide women in the community with a safe a place to go. There's not really many houses for women in this area. So I wanted to make sure we had another available space for them here. Also, so Warriors of Opportunity. Warriors of Opportunity. Oh God.
Okay, hold space for you.
Okay. I started after my brothers passed away. Um,
Okay, take your time.
I don't know if I can. Right. So let me get together. Both of my brothers passed away. They both overdosed, and they didn't make it. And I wanted to start something that I had a passion for and something that was able to help others in recovery. have stable housing. Both of my brothers were homeless at points, and I wanted to be able to provide that also for the community. I know that they both struggled with being able to find stable housing, and I wanted to be able to provide that for individuals in recovery. Also, our end goal for Warriors of Opportunity is to build a trauma retreat for survivors of domestic violence. I want to be able to do a week-long program where they're able to access different forms of therapy, trauma-informed therapy. I want to do animal therapy. I have all these ideas. I want to build a labyrinth. I had gone to this thing that's called Warrior Path. It's through Boulder Crest, and they actually flew me out to Arkansas, and I stayed there for 7 days. And I went through extensive trauma therapy in all different forms. And I was able to process some real serious trauma that I had been through in my life that I had never processed before. I've gone through the 12 steps of AA, and there's certain things that the 12 steps help with, but there's other things that were never touched upon when I went through the process. And this program that I went through was able to help me to process a lot of that trauma that I had never processed before. And I want to be able to offer that to other people as well. I think it's amazing, and I think it could help so many people. And I want to build it up in Maine. I have some land up there that I want to utilize, and have it be out in the mountains, out in the woods, secluded, so that people get a chance to separate from the chaos of the city, or wherever they're coming from. They can get away to this quiet place where they're able to like put their phones down and sit with another group of women or another group of men, and they're able to be present and be able to actually like walk through those things and walk through those fears and come out on the other side.
Yeah. You said a lot, and I think we'll go back a little bit to your own personal recovery, if you don't mind. Because I know I met you now 11 years ago, which seems crazy. And you were one of the women that I think I was able to look up to, right? And I think you have to be really aware of, or maybe it's scary when you're coming in, and as as a mom, as the first time it was for me for treatment, for long-term treatment, coming into the halfway house and coming into different things and going into meetings. So you were one of those women that, I think I did, one of the Nikki Paz or convention,
Yeah.
which for me, I'm not like that, especially being newly sober, you're just like, it's
Yeah.
overwhelming, right?
Super.
So you were my safety, I think, in those moments, right? Like one of my safety people that I could be like, Danielle's here. Like I can, so take us through just what that journey was for you. And when did you, find recovery, start working on a program? And I know you mentioned your mom, Doreen, which we love so much. And so I know she had her own personal journey, but did you do it because you seen her do it? Did you do it because it was something that you had to do for yourself and it had nothing, to do with her? Like, what did that look like?
Do you want me to like start from like my using, or
Yeah,
like
whatever.
just my recovery? Like,
Yeah, however you feel like the beginning of like
getting into recovery.
getting
Why I
into
got
recovery
there.
or why you got there. Just I think that we all have the story, but what is the moment that it became, you know, like, oh, maybe this isn't the way I should be living.
Yeah. Well, I guess I had been using for quite some time. Not like, I was 11
Mm.
when I picked up my first substance. I picked up whatever I could get my hands on. Um, so I started inhaling rubber cement.
Mm.
Um, because that's all I could get my hands on. And I knew that I liked the smell of gasoline, and I was like, whatever. And that's what I ended up doing for a little while, until my mom caught me, and I went
Yeah.
through. But I grew up in an alcoholic home,
Yep.
and my mom and my dad were both alcoholics, and my brothers as well. And I did a lot. I did a lot from a young age. And at the end, I ended up pregnant with my daughter at 21. Um, and I could not stop using.
Mm.
And I continued to use, because that's where my disease took me. And I didn't really care about anything else besides that. And, you know, I continued as DCF got involved. DCF got involved really early. Um, and um, I just, I couldn't get it together. And I kept going to detox and detox and detox and getting out and going back to the same place. I was living in Great Brook Valley. Bad situation. Every time I got out, I was high within 15, 20 minutes. I kept doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And, I was in ad care outpatient because I had told them, like, I want to do something different this time. I was like, I don't want to go back to that house, and I want to go to extended care. And I went to IOP and again, stayed in the same place. Still doing the same things. I was in and out of court with my daughter. Trying to get custody back, and she had been gone for a year.
Mm.
And at that point they wanted stable home for my child, and they needed reunification. And I was in full flight from reality, not realizing what was even going on. I was also in a domestic violence situation, and I went to ad care, and my counselor at ad care, I had, I was a mess. I had lost my daughter because I couldn't get it together, and I missed her on the daycare van numerous times, up all night, sleeping all day. I didn't know what time of day it was, so I had woken up at 9 p.m. and had missed my daughter on the bus again, and had no idea where she was, and was calling people, and contacted my brother, and he had said, DCF took her. And, that as the spot that I was in at that time, I cried for a period of time. And then I thought, she'd probably be better off without me. And I continued to use instead of getting it together, So then here I was eventually at care, and this woman said to me, uh, I was hallucinating. I had been taking benzos and smoking crack for days, and I had no idea what was going on. And this woman said to me, your daughter is being adopted in 45 days. And I was like, no, I have court in 45 days. And this woman was like, no, like, your daughter is being adopted. Um, and I will call your DCF worker to make sure that you understand that that's what's going on. And she called my DCF worker, and she told me that my daughter was being adopted. And at that point, I knew I had to, like, listen to whatever this woman had told me. And I said, I'll do whatever you want me to, and she was like, well, I need you to leave that apartment, and I was like, okay. And she's like, you need to go into a shelter or you need to go back to detox. And I was like, well, I'm going to go to a shelter then. And I went into a shelter. She put me into a shelter, and I went to one in Worcester. I can't really remember the name of it. And then they sent me to our father's house out in Fitchburg, and bad news, I didn't have a solution. I wanted, with all that I had, not to use, but I didn't have a solution, and I didn't know how not to. So we were all in Fitchburg and ended up finding somebody who had crack, and going with that person, and just bad decisions, and got kicked out of that shelter, and then they got me into another one. I ended up going to Friendly House Shelter on Elm Street. It's right down the street from here. And they were able to help me to get reunification with my daughter. And I stayed sober. I stayed sober for 9 months. 9 months, and I went to meetings, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to go to meetings. I don't need a sponsor. I'm just not going to pick up. And then I thought to myself, it's been 9 months and I haven't had a drink. Maybe I'm not an alcoholic. Maybe I'm just a drug addict. I know I have a problem with heroin and crack, but maybe I can drink again in safety. And I honestly told myself that. And at 9 months sober, I picked up a drink, and within 20 minutes, I'm calling the guy trying to get drugs, and there I am. I left my daughter in this house that we were in. We all had our kids there.
Yeah.
We're all using, we're all drinking, and we all left our kids. We all left our kids in this bedroom on a mattress, and went to go cop drugs. And here I am again, like, what am I doing? And I'm bringing my daughter back to the shelter at 5 o'clock in the morning. And this woman was like, what are you doing, Danielle? And I was like, I don't know. And she's like, you just got your daughter back. You're doing the same shit, and she's like, I'm going to give you a chance, like, knock it off. Or I'm going to report you to DCF. And I was like, I will, I promise. And I stayed sober after that. I started going to meetings. I started, going to get my card signed. And it was crazy. I went through all these programs. It was then called the Molly Froelich program, but it's what is it, Worcester Community Housing, I think, program, something like that. And I went through that program, and I got an apartment, and I got my Section 8, so I got my own apartment, and everything was going good. Of course, still sick though. I thought that I could just go to meetings, get my card signed, and I wasn't gonna change any of my behaviors, so I was still being active, acting like I was in active addiction, just not using, still stealing, selling drugs, doing things I wasn't supposed to do. I didn't know how to provide for myself. I didn't know how I was supposed to do that. And so I continued to use the behaviors that I knew. And, and then I got a sponsor finally, a year into recovery. And this woman was like, you've got 1 foot in AA and you got 1 foot out. You've got to pick a side, or you're going to go back out. Because at that point, there I am leaving my daughter again in sobriety, sober, leaving her in the middle of the night to go, do things and sell drugs. And, she's like, you're going to lose your kid again and all this work that you've done, and you're not even getting high. And I'm like, okay, and she's like, you gotta jump into this all the way. And so I did, and I started doing the step work, and that was a huge eye opener for me, that I was gonna still like behave this way in recovery and put myself and my child at risk, um, knowing the consequences, knowing what I was doing, knowing that I had just gotten her back. But I had no defense, and I wasn't changing the person that I brought in. I was continuing to act that way. And this woman was like, "You need to do the steps," and I was like, "I'll do whatever you tell me." And so I listened to her, and she took me through the steps, and learned a lot, learned a lot about myself, learned a lot of, the things that made me tick, going through my fourth step, realizing that I'm the problem, which was really difficult to hear, because I remember doing my fourth step and writing down all these people, and I'm like, yeah, this guy, this girl, this lady, my mom, my dad, this guy, whatever, and I'm like, it's all these people's fault, and then I remember my sponsor having me do the turnarounds, and it was like, okay, like, you put yourself in that situation. You you forced that. It was none of your business in the first place. It was, you have unreasonable expectations about people, all these things, and like all my fears, and I function out of fear, and that's something I strive to continue to work on, because like, things don't just go away. We get better and we recover, but like, our brains are still there running that race sometimes, and yeah, I just kept going. I started going to those conferences and building a network in recovery. um yeah, I don't know where else I was going, but what else?
Yeah, no, I think it's I think it can be so daunting, especially becoming a mother and not knowing, right? Like becoming a young mother, not having any skills to begin with, and then probably you're thinking about how you were raised, add that on top of it. So I think that being able to come in, be a young mother, get some tools,
Oh my goodness,
early on.
the tools I got.
Yeah, well, and I think people need to see that because, to hear that it is possible, right? To even lose custody, go up against adoption, go up against the DCF system, that there also are organizations that are willing to help if you're willing to, right, to take that step.
Oh yeah.
I think for me, I didn't find anything until my son was 9, 10 years old. And so by then, I am lucky that we weren't in the DCF system and he had his dad that was able to take him and his stepmother. But also, what would it look like if I could bring him along the journey and kind of keep that relationship intact? I don't know if that would have helped, but like I didn't know that any of that existed, right? So
Mm.
for you being able to enter shelter, to fight back for your daughter and to kind of have people along the way that were able to give you a reality check, and say,
Yeah.
hey, like you're going to lose her. And like it had to feel so surreal that you decided to keep going instead of putting your hands up,
Yeah.
right? Um, so as you get Shay back and you start to work on yourself, you start to see some things through programming. And so what does it start to look at like as you start to like say, okay, let me shift some things here. Like this is not working out anymore. Like selling drugs probably isn't the best program.
No.
um, you know, uh relationships, right? Coming against relationships, seeing what that looked like and having, essentially you're having a mirror put up to you,
Hmm.
right? So what does that start to look like as you journey through um that process and you start to gain some insight and you start to shift the way you're showing up for yourself? What does that start to feel like internally?
Well, so I took her everywhere with me.
Mm.
She came everywhere with me. She came to all my meetings. Um, I needed so much support. I mean, DCF was amazing. I never had thought that they would be a asset in my life. I thought they were trying to take my child. But once they realized that I was doing the right thing, they were supportive. They helped me get childcare. They helped me. I started going to school. I went through Community Health Link. They helped me. Um, the fuel assistance. What's that fuel assistance?
Worcester Community Action Council. We love them.
Yeah, yep. Worcester Community Action Council.
Yeah.
Oh, they helped me so much.
Yeah.
They helped me with all of the resources for that. They helped me with job search.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, I was literally taking the bus, dropping her off at childcare, taking the bus to Quinsig, and then I was only going part-time, so I had to volunteer somewhere too to get the childcare. So I was volunteering at Everyday Miracles after I would go to my class at Quinsig, and then I'd get on the bus, go back to where she was at daycare, and then take the bus back to our apartment. And these people were so supportive to me through everything, all the groups and the programs and the mothers groups that we had to do. That were just so helpful. I mean, I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't know, and they helped teach me that. Like when I got to the shelter, I was like, I don't know what time we have dinner. Like, what time do we have dinner? Like what time, because like my life was upside down. But they helped me with all that. And eventually they actually introduced me to Dress for Success. And Dress for Success helped me with my resume writing. They helped me get the clothes for my interview. They did workshops with us and parenting classes and all that stuff. And we were able to bring our kids with us. And they provided me with the suit that I wore for my interview for my first real job. I mean, it was not like, I still had another job, but this was like big deal, and they provided me with that suit that I wore to that interview, and I got the job, and it was just amazing. It was amazing. And then they provided me after that with like 5 or 6 more outfits to wear, because I didn't have business clothes. I didn't have business casual. I didn't have like any of that type of thing. So like they gave me shoes, jewelry, scarves, pocketbook. Like they gave me everything. I wore a scarf to that interview, and I was like, look at me with my scarf on. But I mean, I didn't have those skills. They helped us with interviewing skills, all of those things that I had never utilized before. And I utilized every opportunity that they gave me.
Flashback, like I had a flashback of coming in, and I think the resources is so important to talk about resources and let people know exactly where we can find them, how important and how useful they are, because that's what I did. And I did I got my EKG and my phlebotomy, and then Dress for Success. I can picture I had a gray suit pant, a yellow like silk, undershirt with the jacket and the shoes, and I was killing it. And I got, I went to UMass. That was the interview for that, and that was like a big deal, because I remember using and being like, I was always a CNA. I've been doing that now for 20 years. And I remember when I was using, I was always like, I want to go to the hospital, right? I want to work in the hospital. Like that was my goal, but I could never get there because I was using, and like I couldn't get up for an interview. I couldn't pass a drug test. I couldn't do an application. Like I couldn't do all of these things. So coming in and like getting these chances back and using all resources around me and going to Dress for Success, I remember how proud I felt in that suit, and like walking into UMass. I'd never been to UMass, so walking in, and it was so big, and I'm like clacking on the floor waiting, and going in for that interview. It was so empowering.
It was.
And like, okay, like I'm doing something right.
Yeah.
Right. So I love that you were able to utilize all the things that were being provided. And instead of like, I think sometimes because of our trauma, because of the things we go through, we are like, no, I'll do it by myself.
Yeah.
I'll do it by myself. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, and then you're
you're still
how
sitting
can
there.
you figure out something you don't know?
Right.
Right? Like, that's the question. Like, you're like, but you don't know how to figure it out. That's why you're here still. Right? I love that. So you're getting all the resources, you're getting your stuff back, you're going to Quinn Sigmund College, you're going for a degree. What does that start to look like as you start to build up your resume, you start to build up school? How do you start to feel the shift inside you?
I just knew I wanted more. I wanted more for my daughter. I wanted to give her more than what I had. And not to say that my mom didn't do the best she could. She was a single mom with 3 kids. You know, grew up in poverty, you know, so like I didn't want that for her. And I wanted to do better. And I knew that like I had to get an education. I didn't have a trade or anything like that, you know, and I was like, I need to make sure that I like established myself. And I just kept going, you know, and then I transferred from Quinn Sig to Worcester State. And because I went to New Start Center for Learning for high school, because I had been kicked out of Holy Name, South High, and then I ended up at New Start. So like I had to go to Quinn Sig from there because it wasn't a regular public school. So I had to go to Quinn Sig first, and then I could go to a 4-year college. So I did that. I mean, it took me a long time to graduate Quinn Sig, but I ended up going to Worcester State, and again, utilized all that I could there because I utilized the tutors, everything, you know, and I mean, I ended up just working from there and building, you know, saving money and doing all the things I needed to do. And I waited a little while, kind of long time, to get my master's, but my job actually offered a scholarship to Boston University. And I was like, why not give it a shot? You know, I made it this far. And I was like, I might as well keep going. And if I have the opportunity to get a free master's degree from Boston University, I think I'm going to take it. So I ended up going back to school while I was working full time, and I had my daughter, and she was in school full time. And I mean, I just kept going. I was like, nobody can take that from me. Yeah. You know, I worked really, really hard, like, and that's something nobody can take from me. And I guess that's also like just an accomplishment in itself for me. Like, it was like, I don't know, I didn't really have much of an education from the school I went to at that point. Like, we'd do like worksheets, and like we had like one book out of like 6 classes. Like, you know what I mean? So like, it's not like I was really doing much work I was using the whole time anyway. But I wanted to build that for myself, and I wanted to accomplish that for myself. And, you know, and I don't know, for some reason I just kept saying, nobody can take it from me. Nobody can take it from me. And I worked really hard, you know, and I graduated with my master's in criminal justice in 2019. Yeah.
I think that's, you know, those are the stories that we need to see, right? Like, the probably coming from, I can imagine, I think even for my own self, right? Like, I think it was so important that I just graduated high school. That was like the feat. Like, that was like, I'm the first one that graduated high school from like all the grandkids, you know, but further education wasn't, it wasn't like, okay, now what? You know, like, it was just like, okay, now what?
That's
like,
it.
But it wasn't, I'm going to go, you know, to college, or what does that look like, or someone to guide me. So I think being that example, like being able to bring yourself through that, and, you know, coming against all these adversities, like, what that shows for others, right? Like, how does that translate to other people when they're like looking at you? And that's empowering, right? Like,
Yeah.
that is something like, A, no one can take away, but B, that like is also for you because you did it.
Right.
Right. And I love that, you know, that like hope shot of like,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I always tell people, like, if I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Because, like, I literally, like, I don't even know what grade level I was at when I went into Quincy. You know what I mean? Because I really didn't have much. So, like, I went in there with, like, a pretty low grade level. Like, I didn't score into college classes.
Yeah.
So I had to take, like, all the prerequisites and all the adding up, coming up to college level courses. You know what I mean? So, like, I worked really, really hard.
Yeah.
And, but, like, if I can do it, so can anybody. Because it's like, and I wish people, like, took that as, like, I can,
serious, like,
you know,
yeah.
because it's like, I try to explain to people, like, honestly, like, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I pushed myself. I pushed myself as hard as I could. And, I mean, I didn't give up.
And I love that too. And like this theme of like, I utilized the resources that were given to me. I utilized the tutor. I utilized,
Sure did.
you know, like,
Yeah.
that's so important. I think that we feel there's so much shame and guilt embedded in us that is like,
I'm not worth it.
you know, like,
I'm
or like,
stupid.
why, if I ask for help, then what does that look like? And like, you know, so much shame in that, like, am I allowed to also succeed?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so having, for you to break that down for yourself and say, no, like, nobody can take this from me. Like, this is mine. I'm working my butt off for this. Like, and obviously steeped in the idea of like what I'm going to pass on as my legacy to my daughter.
Yeah.
Right?
I wanted her to see that I could do it. And I wanted her to see that I was doing something with my life. And I wasn't just like, you know, doing the bare minimum.
Yeah.
I mean, as anybody can just do the bare minimum,
Yeah.
you know. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted for myself. And that's not what I wanted for her. And I wanted her to make sure she saw that I was working hard.
Yeah.
And I know she does. I know she sees it. And she tells me all the time she's proud of me. So I mean,
yeah. And so you know, you get your life back, right? Obviously, you build, not even back, because I think what you had wasn't, you know, you had to build and rebuild.
yeah.
From something that you didn't have a groundwork for. So you get all these things back, and you go to college, you buy a house.
Couldn't believe I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one, right?
Yeah.
Was it? I mean,
Yeah.
I saved up my money. I mean, it was crazy. I didn't know how to do that either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know how to budget money, or like, you know what I mean? That I wish I had taken more of that advice and more of that resource from like Dress for Success, Community Action Council. They offered all those types of things too. You know, but I really didn't know how to budget. Like, you know, I didn't really even have bank accounts growing up. You know what I mean? I didn't have any money to put in it.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing, and this is literally how I ended up saving money for my first house, was I created a separate account that was in a bank in another town that didn't have online banking. It didn't have a debit card, no checks, no nothing. So the only way for me to get money out of that account was if I physically drove to the bank to take money out. And I had it direct deposited from my paychecks. And that was the only way that I was able to save money.
Yeah.
And I did, you know, and with other help from people in the program and stuff like that. You know, my friend had already had an income property at the time, and he was like, I think your best move would be to get an income property. And I was like, okay, you know, and that's what I did. Yeah. And then I had the income property for 4 or 5 years, I think, something like that. And I knew I wanted to do the sober living. Yeah. And I was able to gradually do that. And now it's fully open, and we have 10 beds. Yeah. And I moved into another house, and I bought my second house. Yeah. And so, yeah, I have a second home now, and I'm running the other house as a sober house. So
I love that. And let's talk a little bit about Doreen's house, because I love that your intentionality behind it, creating this space where, you know, we know there's money in the right sober living,
of course,
and that's fine. But I think also when you're thinking about who's living there, who needs the housing, what does that look like, you can, I think, go both either way, right? Mm-hmm. So what was your, you know, what did you envision? Like, how has that played out for you in this home, and what have you seen the women gain from being so intentional of having this, you know, smaller living space?
I guess for myself, I wanted it to be a place that I would want to stay. It was more like, is this a place that I would want to live? You know, I had been in numerous shelters, you know, with other families, and, you know, like just a lot of people, you know, all eating together at the same time in the same kitchen and all that stuff. And, you know, and this was an opportunity where I could have the 2 separate apartments and just small space for them to be in. I mean, it's enough. It's a big space. It's just not, you know, they're not overcrowded.
It's not overcrowded.
And they have room. It's a beautiful house. Mm-hmm. You know, they have a backyard, back deck, front porch. I love that house. I loved that house. It's a beautiful house, and I wanted to give them something that they were comfortable going home to, and that they felt safe, and it wasn't just another place. Mm-hmm. You know, the location is amazing. It's right on the bus line. So if people don't have a car, literally the bus stop is like right across the street. Mm-hmm. You know, Washburn's right there, and it's in the plaza. You know, and it's just they've got laundry on both floors. They have free laundry. You know, I wanted it to be a place where they could focus on their recovery. Yeah. Not that they had to worry about all these other aspects of being in community living. Mm-hmm. I wanted it to be them able to like focus on themselves and not have to worry about, I mean, I had to literally carry huge bags of laundry to the laundromat, or get a cab and put my bag of laundry in the cab with my kid and go to the laundromat. You know what I mean? Like I wanted them to have a place where like those weren't things that they had to worry about. Yeah. So I always tell myself I want it to be somewhere where I would want to live.
I love that. That brings me, like, I'm thinking about the sober house. Like, I went from the halfway house, and I was lucky enough to get into Hudson Street sober house, and it was kind of like that. We all had our own room. We had laundry access. We had, like, you know, there was only 3, so each floor there was only 3 of us.
Right.
And I think that really did shape my experience in the way that I was able to recover and have this place that felt more of a home. And felt more secure. Like I could just go in and I could go into my own room. I didn't have to really necessarily lock my stuff up or, you know, or worry about sharing, you know, sleeping in the same room with someone else, you know. And so I love that intentionality of saying it's like people over profit.
Right.
Right.
Oh my God, for sure.
And because we know that it could be a big money grab, but you're choosing to give people quality and experience. And I think that that's going to shape how people then get to go out into the world and start to build their own life. And I just love that so much. That shows so much integrity in that. And so I think that you're, like what a gift.
Yeah. I'm super grateful.
Yeah.
Like I'm like grateful when the women like always just tell me they're so grateful to be there. Like I don't have many people that leave.
Yeah.
And when they do, it's to go to an apartment or some of them, they mend the relationships that they had at the home they were living at, and they can now go back home.
Yeah.
So like, and it's been like, some of them still text me. And they're like, I just wanted to say thank you, for all the help that you gave me at that house. It was a beautiful place to stay. I'm forever grateful for being there. And like, that's worth it all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I want to be able to help other women in recovery. Yeah. And I mean, it's just such a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And I feel like it should be like utilized as much as it possibly can. For them to work on themselves.
Yeah.
And so like we also have like, they have to go to their 3 meetings a week. They have to get a sponsor. They have to find a home group. They have to start going through the steps. All those things are requirements at the house, and so when they have their house meeting every week, they're supposed to be checking on their step work. And they have to do their urines every week, so, they're still held accountable, you know what I mean, which is huge, the accountability piece of it, because, then it's like, if they're not being held accountable, how are they ever going to learn to be accountable?
Yeah.
But I'm really proud of it.
Yeah.
I really am.
I think, and it is something to be proud of, because I think it's so hard just coming in. I pull from my experience of like, not knowing anything and then trying to navigate through, being the first person, in my family that was like going into detox, going into long-term care, going into programming, like navigating these spaces. So it's new terminology, it's new ways to live, it's a new everything. And so you're going through this and your system is on overload. And so when you have that direction and you have that guidance into saying, maybe it's not specifically this way is for you, but if you can take something from this particular programming and then allow it to shape what it is that you need for yourself, I think that is vital in showing someone a different way to live.
Yeah.
And so that's the groundwork, that foundation that is so incredibly needed. I think if we're talking about having a different experience, having, this life that is worth living, that you can find joy, that you can find new meaning, and you can, start to extract what that means for you. Like how beautiful to like actually have that, just a roadmap.
Yeah.
Opportunity for that, an opportunity and a roadmap.
Yeah. I mean, building a foundation is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves, It's like, okay, I want to get better. How can I do that? Like, how am I supposed to do that? You have to follow these steps.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously everyone can do them differently. It doesn't mean like one shoe fits for everybody. There's different programs. Not everybody does AA. And that's another thing I've told them. They can pick whatever 12-step program that they wish to participate in, as long as they're going to their meetings, and you know what I mean? Because it's not one size fits all.
No.
So different things work for different people, but like building that foundation is like one of the most important things that we can do in recovery, and I feel like in anybody's life really, like any foundation in someone's life is what they're running with for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I had a good foundation with my mom, you know. It's just, it was what it was, you know, but like building a new foundation in recovery was huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, that's, you know, and I think it's a lot of rebuilding. And so you're helping folks rebuild. And yeah, it is not one shoe fits all. We know that. And I think I always say, like, I don't do AA anymore. You know, my journey is completely different. It looks different, but I'll never forget what AA did for me. And in those pivotal years, those couple years that I was introduced, because it blew my mind of like, people live like this. People can live like this.
Yeah,
like, you can
right?
live such a different. It was mind blowing.
It was.
And I was, at some parts, I was angry because I was like, why didn't anybody tell me? And then also like, all right, now I have it, and I want to give it to everyone, but you can't. It doesn't work like that.
I want to share this with the world.
But I could, from my experience, I could be like, you obviously see that I'm a changed person. I am not the person that walked in these doors. And that's how my mother was able to come in, right? And like, she was like, okay, well, maybe that's not exactly for me. I can find something else. And having that shift and being able to have that permission to do something different is vital. Vital. So amazing.
For sure.
And so then, you know, you have some things happen in your life. We know you talked about in the beginning, you lost your mom, you lost both your brothers. That shifts something in a person, right? That having, and it wasn't like, it wasn't a small span of time. Very small span of time. You know, and I think you don't know as a person what you can handle until you go through that. As someone, a supporting person, you don't know exactly what that looks like because you haven't been through it.
Right.
So take us a little bit through, I think, just how you were able to journey through that process of losing your core family, right, in such a short span of time, going through that, what you utilized for support system, what you utilized for picking yourself back up and still continuing, because through all of that, you were able to not only sustain and whatever that looked like for you, but also then you were able to go on and create another organization. So take us a little bit through, you know, that process for you.
Well, it was quite a shock to the system. I honestly didn't think I was gonna be able to pull through it. A lot of things happened, you know, in a really short period of time, and I did end up hospitalized. It wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. And thank God that I had built a network in AA, you know, and these people who were, sorry.
You're good. Take your time.
Just 24/7, like, with me, you know, and stayed with me all night, all hours of the day. And were just so supportive. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was completely lost. I actually didn't know what I was going to do. I was on the verge of suicide. Yeah. I'm going to be honest. And that was really difficult. And coming back from that, I prayed. I prayed a lot after I could pray again, because I was really, really mad at God. for taking my family.
Yeah, so it's been a lot of work.
It's been a lot of work. We've been fundraising and doing events. It's been so fun though to be in the community and helping others. And what did we do first? I think we did the comedy show first. No, I think we did bingo.
We did bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. That was fun.
Bingo. And then I'm also able to do fun things for the community. So it's like I feel like there's all aspects of being able to support our community in like so many different ways. And I just, it's the like full aspect for me for helping others. Like I can help so many people this way. I'm already helping people in the sober house, and like now I get to like help others and like outreach
It's
that
the ripple effect.
Yeah. And like I'm just like so excited for it. And I want to be able to do more events. And we slowly raise money every time we do an event. Oh, it's been an experience. That's not ever anything I thought I would be doing ever in my life. Like, oh my gosh, I run a nonprofit. Like, who would have thought that would have even been in my vocabulary? I mean, I never even thought I'd get a master's degree, or buy a house. Like, what? Like, those weren't even things that I thought were possible. Like, it was hard for me to get 2 months clean. I was like struggling. And I'm like, I wouldn't even have imagined that I would be where I'm at today. But like this opportunity is giving me like I can help people on so many platforms. And I want to expand, and I'm like, I got to get going. I'm like telling my vice president, I'm like, man, we got to do more. I got to do something else. And he's like, Danielle, you have a full-time job.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but like, we've got stuff to do. And I'm like, so I've started like trying to grant write.
Yep.
I got to get a grant writer, and I'm trying to get like bigger grants so that way we can help more people. Because we have to spend the money that we get for the events and the fundraising.
Yeah.
And so like by the time the event's over and we get the sponsorship, like, every time we do an event, we can sponsor like 5 people.
Yeah.
It's not like we're like, but I mean, 5 people's 5 people.
Yeah.
So like that to me is a win.
Yes.
So, I mean, of course, I wish I could help on a larger scale, which I'm praying that we will be able to do. And I feel like we will.
Yeah.
I don't think, I know God didn't take me this far to drop me. You know what I mean? I just, and Justin tells me that all the time. When I start freaking out, he tells me like, you had that conversation with God.
Yeah.
He had that conversation with you and nobody else. So no matter what anybody tells you, remind yourself that you and God had that conversation, and nobody else can take that from you.
Yeah.
And I do. I remind myself that. I'm like, no, this is it. Like, this is what I'm doing, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It goes back to your conversation with like getting your master's degree, right? Like nobody can take that from you. And so like also you've built this, and it's been it's been put on your heart. And when you have that much, when you can turn tragedy into triumph, what you're giving back and what you're be able to receive from that is like, again, nobody can take that from you, right? Because this is your experience. And it's something you can't even, like you can only go through in order to be like, how did I make it here? Like you can't, like,
it's bizarre,
right? Because you're still standing, you're still choosing to show up daily, even if it's messy, even if it's, and that's so, and I think that like people might see that, right? Be like, oh, well, she has the master, she has the 2 houses, she has the sober, she has the thing, but you did it, and you did it messy regardless.
Oh my God.
And I think that's like the hope, right? That we don't have to come in this clean cut. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Right.
It doesn't have to be tailored. You can just do it messy, and you can do it without knowing every single piece of
Right.
it. Right.
Going with the flow. I'm like just going with it. Because I'm like, I'm learning as I go. You know, I ask other people who have done this before, other people with nonprofits, other people with sober houses. I lean on my network, you know, and like we have so many other people in this area who have done similar things, and I've leaned on them for help, and you know, they've been there to help me. But yeah, I mean, it's like I don't know where to start, but I'm gonna start.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that's where I was. Like, it's not like I like took a course and was like, okay, you know, or like whatever. It was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm doing it, and the pieces are gonna fall where they are. But at the end of the day, like, I can fix things if they're a little messy here and there. I mean, it has not been easy, at all, you know, and especially like dealing with the trauma throughout it, has not been easy. My best friend, as you know, passed as well, right after my second brother. And he was a huge part of my network, and one of my best friends, and he was like my brother, you know. And but I just tell myself that they're all up there, and they're proud of me, and
Okay.
um but I mean, it's just been such a learning experience. I honestly, like, I learn from everything that I do, and everything that I do just makes me stronger at what I'm trying to do, you know. I've been in contact with the city, which is like crazy. I went to like me and Erica.
Yeah.
We went to the Citizens
The
Council.
the
Yeah.
homeless committee.
So we applied to be on the Worcester Homelessness Committee. And well, we're waiting for the next step. But we got voted into the next step. So I mean, super proud of that. I never thought that would ever be anything that I'd even be slightly involved with. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I feel like sometimes I don't know what the plan is, but I feel like God knows what the plan is, and I'm just following it. But it's all definitely been a learning experience. I mean, there's been a lot of days where I'm like, forget this. I'm done. I'm like, I'm not doing it. I can't deal with it. And then I'm like, no, you have a purpose. And yeah, I just keep going. Regardless of how messy it is, because it is definitely it's a lot some days. It's a lot.
Well, I think that is what we're here for, right? Like, I think that you've wrapped it up in this way of like, I have a purpose, right? And maybe we don't know exactly what that is right now, but internally you feel it in your bones of like, okay, like when you can get out of all that you've been through and you can, you know, search and find that glimmer of hope and like that idea that like, no, I still have purpose.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful, honored to know you and that you continue to find your purpose even through your grief and losses, and but also you have these beautiful triumphs and, you know, things that you've accomplished that cannot go unnoticed in all of it. So thank you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you. Thank you.
So let us know online where we can find you, any socials, any way we can support.
So Warriors of Opportunity has a Facebook page. There's also warriorsofopportunity.com. That's also where the application is for the scholarships.
Okay.
Doreen's Place as well has a Facebook page that you can go to and find that. Instagram, same thing. We're on Instagram, Woo Inc. Yeah. That's
Perfect.
That's it.
All right. Well, that's it for Crossroad Conversations, our second season, second episode. And you can follow us on all platforms. Like, share, comment. And this is nonprofit also, so donations are always welcome to support the work that we're doing and try to uplift voices in our community and show the stories of triumph, resilience, and growth. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Welcome to the place where paths collide. Crossroad Conversations, let's take the ride. From shadows deep to the light we see. Stories of strength, the voices speak.